Hello, it's Dana. I want to share some ideas, or some items that I made really quickly. I love to tea and coffee stain. So, what I have found is a couple things. One is if I tea stain and then pour coffee directly onto, hi, Grandma Joe. Here, let me get this. I guess I'll put this microphone on. I always forget it and leave it hanging up here. Can you hear me better now? All right. I hate that cord being in the way. It was over to the side, but I moved some stuff around. And my computer is still sounding like it's going to take off. Okay. So what I found was if I tea stain and then I just pour a little coffee here and there and leave it dry, then it has this nice edge on it. Hi. And if I've been doing this stuff and then going to work and kind of coming back and finding it later. So if I tea stain it and then let it dry and then pour more tea on it, I kind of get this. This is when there's a lot of coffee the first time, it gets these little dark edges. And okay, so this is the best thing I found. What I started doing is I watered down some acrylic paint in a blue color. And if you water it down too much, you can't really see the blue, but I'll compare it to the white. Compared to the white, you can kind of tell a little bit, but I wanted it bluer. I printed out some just white paper. And what I did was I went in the computer and changed it. And I don't know if this shows up. I'm going to hold it real close. I changed the stripes to gray in the printer. So the stripes will be very muted in the end. And I like that. So I printed a bunch of those. But then what I did was I watered down the paint in various ways. And I just dipped it and let it dry. And that's what I ended up with. Now, this is a different story. I also added more paint, kind of like the double dip coffee. I just added more paint when it was dry the first time. And this is kind of what I ended up with. But this was a blue one and I put teal paint on top of it, trying to make like a mermaidy paper. It didn't work. But I am getting better as I go. So here I think the paint was watered down a little bit more than I liked. But again, I tried the blue and then did a phthalo green on top, or the teal color. Again, trying to get kind of a mermaidy look. Now these I just started spattering because I had all this watered down paint. I love how these turned out. Let me turn this bright light off. Okay. Well, I don't know if that's better or worse. Let me switch lights here. Okay. Let's see how that is. Well, it's not showing up as good as I would like, but there's some greenish yellow and some teal and some coffee staining on all of these. And so I just kind of started spattering. I just laid them all out on a big piece of baker's parchment paper, and just started spattering. And then I went back with the coffee. I literally just stuck my hands in the coffee and was just kind of flicking it everywhere just to see what it would do. This is orange and pink paint. And when you mix it with the coffee, it kind of turns grungy, a little grungy. But this was actually a really bright pink to start out with. And I'll show you. You can see maybe on the corner here. Can you see that? Let me see if it'll focus. See how bright pink that was? And then when it mixes with the coffee, it kind of mutes it down. So I think those turned out kind of cool. And so as I put more on, I liked it better. So I kept adding more and more and more. Yeah, I did. I had a cup first. Hi, Maria. Maria, Carrie, Grandma Joe. Okay. So this, I don't remember. I think I did pink first and then the coffee. Yeah, I think. And then this was just, I don't know what I did here. I think this was one of the lighter blue ones. And then I added some coffee and some purple to it. And it just like, I don't know. I don't know. I like it though. I like how this ended up in the end. I'll probably make some sort of envelope out of that. This was a little darker than I wanted. And so the mistake I made here was using a brush to just kind of make little random patterns on it. You can tell this was brushed on. The cool part is if you look at the back. Let me see if this will focus. I think the back turned out really cool, and that's where it laid to dry. This, because I didn't like the way the purple turned out, I went ahead and poured some coffee on it. And this is what ended up coming out of that was these. So I think they will be fun in a journal. I really like how this page turned out. So I would probably cover that up if I was using it to make a book. And then the rest are basically just coffee and tea stained papers. And so I will tell you what I learned, but I will tell you something really, really important that can save you a lot of time when you're doing these papers. And I'm going to get my sheet. Oh, let me get my parchment paper so I can show you. I'm going to take that thing off. Oh, well, I cleaned up. Put my parchment paper up. I covered the table with paper. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to fix this fan. I'm going to give everyone Thad's email address so you can all write him a little note about my fan and how noisy it's been so that he can fix it for your viewing pleasure. Yeah, I don't even know how to fix that. Okay. So here's my parchment paper, and you can see when you start to use it, what happens is it becomes see the texture on it? Very wrinkly, crinkly. This is what you want. Once you've got it to this point, do not throw it away, because I will tell you the best thing I found to do. And that is to take your paint when it's watered down. Here, we'll just do a piece. We'll do a piece real quick because it's super simple. What color do we want? Let's do purple. I'm interested to see how this purple looks on the coffee stained paper. So we are going to try this. Let me get my little paint tray out. I love these things. I got about 4 of them in the sink right now, soaking. But okay. So this is what I learned. And I'm using a great big brush, which is probably not the best tool to use. But you only need a teeny, teeny, tiny dab of paint. And I mean tiny. And if you, oh, these things are so thin. And if you just add a minuscule amount of water, and you can see that I'm not adding much water here. Water that paint down real thin. That's not thin enough. See, it's not dripping. You want it to be dripping off your brush. But you don't want to water it down to where the color, see where it's drippy? You don't want the color to be so diluted that it doesn't come through. I'm adding just a little more. This is soaking up in this big brush, so I hope this doesn't dilute this color too much. Okay, So this is what I did. Basically, oh, put it all over. And then lay your paper on it. That just looked, that got me right in the face. Okay, Dana. And then put your, let's get a coffee stained one. Just for the sake of, okay. I also add a tiny mist of water to the paper. So just a little bit here and there. And then lay your paper on that. And what soaks up, I think, looks better. And you have more control over it. So some of this is purple, some of this is watered down purple. Is it hard to see? It's hard to see, isn't it? Okay. So let's do more. Let's do bigger drops. Here. I guess if this piece was wider, you could see it better. And then let me just spray my brush a little bit and get a few drips on here. All right. There we go. I'll just rinse my brush with a spray bottle. Now we're going to do the other side. Wipe the finger. And it dries faster too when it's not completely saturated. This dries a lot faster. I had my whole work table completely covered with paper. But that's how I did these dictionary pages. And I'm telling you, I love it. When they dry, they look amazing. Like, amazing. So those were the ones that came out the best. And the only reason that I even noticed this was that I had a bunch of paint still on the, after I picked up my pages, I had a bunch of paint still on the whatchamacallit, parchment paper. And I thought, oh, let me soak that up. So I soaked up the paint, then I soaked up the coffee, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love that. And I loved it. I was really happy. So let me find another piece of paper that's not absolutely gorgeous. But okay, so this one's kind of plain. The edges are juicy because they're nice and dark, but the center is pretty plain. So let's do this one too. Can you see where the color is? Can you see the purple? It's hard to see on the tea stained ones, isn't it? But when that dries, that color will pull to the edges of those little spots better. And if the color's too bright, you can take your, why do I say water gun? I'm saying water gun. You can take your, like your spray bottle and spread it out a little bit. So like where the purple's real intense here, I can spray it and dilute it on the page. So like here's a real intense spot. See how it looks after? Let me look on the monitor and see. Okay, how about this? See where this purple is more intense? And if you spray it, then it's much more muted. Yes, Grandma Joe, do a paper live. Who's spam? Yeah, spam him. You're like, fix her fan. That'll fix my fanny. Fix her fan. All right. I don't know that purple would look that good with the orange, but here's the pink. I don't like this one. So let's do one more. Here. Let me put this somewhere. Let's put a different color on though. Let's do what goes good with purple. Let me get a darker color that'll show it better, maybe. Let's just do black because maybe you'll be able to see black better. And I've kind of been thinking about doing gray shades. So let's do it. Okay, let me move this brush over here. We're done with it. And let me pick up this paint so that we don't get the purple and the black mixed up. I don't want any purple on here. All right. Okay. So I wonder how pink and black will look. I don't know, but at least it'll show up better on the camera for you to see it. Yeah, it definitely shows up better. Who knows? We might start a thing. All right. Now I'm going to dilute it just a little bit more before I dip the paper in it. Here and there. That's probably more water than I wanted. I should have watered down the paint a little bit. This will take too long to dry probably. Oh, this is the one I like the back. All right. So let me get some on the edges. And some on this edge. Get that up. Get that up. I'm trying just to pick up the black before I show you. Pick up all the ink I can. All right. So now again, if you want it like this spot might be too dark, say I don't think I can write in that, you can dilute it a bit more. Now see the difference is when you put it on with the brush, see how it just looks blotchy? It doesn't look variegated. It just looks blotchy to me. And you can see like where the brush hits it. And then you have to really saturate the paper for it to like actually soak in. And you have to wait forever for that to dry. It does look pretty when it runs though, doesn't it? So that, I like that technique a lot better. That paper dries faster than any of them. Also, look, you can push the paint. With this, you can push the paint to the edges. That's what I do with the coffee. I'll push the paint to the edges and it makes the edge, see that? And it makes the edges darker. So that's always fun too. Oh my gosh, that fan is getting on my nerves. So that's what I found with these dictionary pages is it's a lot funner to put your paint on your parchment. At least in my book, I can control it better. There's wrinkles, so you can see where some of the wrinkles lie in the pages because some were like this and some were like this. And when they get done, you can kind of see where the paint starts to pool. And I think it just turned out super cool. And so, yeah. You know, when I'm working all the time, I have to do something quick so that I can just leave it and go to work. And so this is something like I was going to do some colored pages, not these colors. I hadn't decided yet, but we did purple. So here they are. But see, when I get home from work, these will be dry. And then I can go on to the next thing. So it's really fun to do like last thing before you go to bed or whatever. If you don't have room to lay out a bunch of papers, I don't. I have my work table is actually cleared now because I was doing just this yesterday for a minute. and I wanted to do a whole bunch. But if you don't have that I don't have that space available if we're going to eat dinner or we're going to do something. Or now I'm sorting some Christmas stuff that didn't get put away, just craft stuff though. I don't put my Christmas craft stuff away. But I don't normally always have that workspace available because whatever project I'm working on, I like to leave it all kind of laid out. So in between, I can do it here at my desk. Especially if you know you're going to go to sleep or you're going to wherever you're going. Even if you're just going shopping. Wet some papers, dye some papers, and just leave them. And in the morning, it's like a little surprise. You're like, oh, my papers are dry, and you get to see how they turned out. And who says they have to be coffee or tea stained? I like the different colors of the paint on them and combining them. And if you let them one color dry before you put your other color on, it will not mix. It will not, especially with acrylics. Now, watercolors are different, but these are watered down acrylic craft paints. And you let one dry and you can put another one right on top of it, and the two will not intermingle because the one's dry. And now, I don't know if it's really, really saturated. I imagine it'll do a little bit, but if it's too bright, like this is too bright, I don't like this bright a pink like here. I'm betting I add some coffee to it later just to make it toned down a bit because there's still a lot of white here that's showing through that looks bright. Oh Lord, don't forget to fill up she'll go. Where's she gonna she might go. I don't know. I did that one time years ago when we first got a cat. When we first moved to Indiana in the 90s, my dear friend, her cat had kittens, and my son was begging for a cat, and I finally agreed to a cat. And he was little, and he had started kindergarten in Ohio. Anyway, when he was 19 years old, we had to have her put to sleep because she had gotten sick. But, and that was the most pitiful thing you ever seen. My grown man son in the front seat holding his sick cat crying all the way to the vet was heartbreaking. It was very sad. But when I first got her, I didn't think about the cat box that much. And I didn't know to scoop it every day. So like she was little, and little cats just make little tiny, waste. So after a few days, I scooped it and I didn't think about it, and she probably got about, I don't know, after a few months, I was like, oh my God, how much can they go? And as she grew to adulthood, I was shocked. I was like, oh, I said, son, we have to do this every day. So every day I'd be like, did you scoop the poop? Did you scoop the poop? Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Driving him crazy. Anyway, I finally I got to where I'd do it because as opposed to just writing him all the time. Then when he got older, I made him do it. But yeah, that's something that you don't know when you don't have a cat. You don't realize you have to go get that stuff every day, and you have to dump it out once in a while and refill it. So I just got to where, every trash day I would just dump it all out and put a new batch in, or every other, depending. And if you don't refill it up, we had ours out in the garage, and she literally went and pooped on the floor in the garage. And I was like, oh, what is this cat doing? She was like older then. She was probably a year old by that time. And I just got busy and forgot to put the litter back in. I was like, that's what you do? You poop on the floor in the garage? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Grandma Joe. Anyway, I know what you meant, that you just dump it every week or two on trash day or before trash day. All right. Well, my computer's about to take off, so I better go hit the showers. I got to leave for work. You're always cracking like at me. You got jokes, Grandma Joe, always. Always. She's just going right along with your jokes every time. She just jumping right in. She's like, yep, me too. Thank you for the laugh. I needed that. Oh, I gotta go jump in the shower. I washed my hair earlier, but I gotta jump in the shower because I'm kind of gross because I've been working out in the garage. So I'm glad to finally have my craft area back and my that's a long story. I've been confined to this little, like, whatever this is, my little 2 foot by 2 foot space while we had to rework some things in the other garage. So this weekend, Thad finally got out to work in the other garage and he got all my Christmas stuff put away and he got all the stuff, out of here that was in my way. So I'm so happy. So now I can get back to the business of crafting. So maybe in the morning I can get my act together and make something. So if you're all around, come join me. Have a good night. And go paint some papers before you go to bed. It's a fun surprise in the morning. Bye. Good night. Bye.